And joining us now to talk about this is Emily Schrader. She's an American-Israeli journalist and a humanitarian human rights activist. She's watching the situation very closely if you follow her. Emily, thank you so much for being here. So just today, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said that Israel is prepared and, quote, whoever harms us, we will harm them. Is this attack not a matter of if, but when? And what are you hearing?
I mean, I think that it's important to note that Iran, or the Islamic Republic of Iran, rather, has been attacking Israel for years. I mean, a core value of this regime since the revolution in 1979 has been the destruction of what they call the little Satan, which is Israel. The big Satan, of course, being the United States of America. So they have declared war ideologically and also physically through the funding, through hundreds of millions of dollars of their terrorist proxies, including, of course, Hamas, Hezbollah, Islamic Jihad, the Houthis in Yemen. All of these organizations are funded, backed, supported by the Islamic Republic. And even October 7th had the stamp of approval from the Islamic Republic of Iran. And so even the starting point of this discussion being, oh, well, Israel struck a consulate of the Islamic Republic in Syria isn't the right place to begin. They've been launching a war against Israel for years already. And so, yes, I think in answer to your question, it is when and not if, because we already see these things escalating over the years because the Islamic Republic has not been deterred primarily by the Western world.
You bring up a really good point. Israel is a little Satan. They've been saying that, and America is the big one. So they've made that clear. I want you to talk about what's been going on for years and the thousands of Iran-funded terror attacks. I mean, Iran constantly disrupting the Middle East, creating this chaos.
That's right. I mean, we've seen at least 5 Middle Eastern countries, Sunni Arab countries, be completely destroyed by the Islamic Republic of Iran, by their interference and, frankly, their colonization. You know, we're talking about the airstrike that took out several IRGC commanders in Syria. But what about the question of why Iran was there in the first place? Why are there Islamic regime officials in Syria to begin with? And the answer to that question is that they have been funding and orchestrating terrorism and terror attacks, including tunnels, rockets, and beyond, from Syrian, Lebanese, and even Gaza and other Palestinian territories to be used against Israel for the sole purpose of ultimately fulfilling their goal of destructing the state of Israel. Now, of course, they're not going to be successful. As the Prime Minister mentioned, and you stated even in this interview, Israel will do what they have to do to defend itself. That's not going to change. And they have stated even today, the Defense Minister Gallant stated that Israel is prepared for the event of any escalation, whether it be via terrorist proxies, or via a direct attack from the Islamic Republic of Iran. So nothing is going to change on that front. But the fact of the matter is that we see an increasingly aggressive Islamic Republic. And the reason for that is because they have been emboldened by the lack of moral clarity, by the moral cowardice that we have seen from Western leaders for decades, but in particular during this Biden administration.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I wanted to mention, as you mentioned, the Biden administration, Iran is able to fund these proxies and create the chaos because of the money it has. When Trump was president, he cut the head off the snake. It's time to do that again?
Absolutely. I mean, I think that we've seen an extremely weak U.S. Presidential administration, and we see the byproducts of that. We see the funding and support for extremism and for terrorism all over the world, even on some of the campuses. You know, we're seeing funding from, Islamic Republic sources, but also Qatar. That is fueling the extremism that we're seeing. And even some of these anti-Israel protests that we're seeing, which really aren't anti-Israel, they're pro-Hamas, they're pro-terrorism, and they're pro-Islamic Republic. And we see that with some of the activists, even in recent days, who are in fact praising the Islamic Republic of Iran, which is murdering their own people in the streets. And something I think really important to note is that the Iranian people are not Arab. They're not like the Palestinian people, where you see that the majority of them, unfortunately, do support the actions of Hamas. Iranians, in fact, you see the opposite. The vast majority of Iranians strongly oppose the Islamic Republic of Iran. They don't even want it to be called Iran when we're speaking about the regime itself. And we have seen just in recent days a tremendous outpouring of support from Iranians, both in the diaspora and inside of Iran, saying, Israel, do it. Target these sites, take out the IRGC, take out the Islamic Republic of Iran. We don't want to live under this authoritarian, theocratic dictatorship any longer.
Yeah, Emily, we've seen the young people taking to the streets of Iran, knowing that their lives are on the line. Many have been killed. So the Iranian people and the Israeli people are on each other's side against this evil. I want you to talk a little bit more about Sunni versus Shiite. I think a lot of people don't understand that. They're up against each other.
That's right. I mean, there has been a long-standing divide in the Islamic world between Sunni Islam and Shia Islam. Now, the Islamic Republic of Iran is actually the only major Shia majority state that exists. The majority of the Arab world is Sunni Muslim, with Saudi Arabia sort of being perceived as the, who's in charge of the Arab Muslim world. Now, the whole purpose, the goal of the Islamic Republic of Iran from day one has been to establish themselves as the leader, the preeminent leader of Islam, of the Muslim world. And that is why part of their mission from day one has been focused on scapegoating Israel, scapegoating the Jewish people, because they wanted to be perceived as the so-called liberator of Palestine who gets rid of this Jewish state in the Middle East. So that is part of the reason that we see that, and also part of the reason we see so much effort and money put forward by the Islamic Republic of Iran into terrorist organizations, both Shia, like the case of Hezbollah in Lebanon, and Sunni, like the case of Hamas, which actually was an affiliate of the Muslim Brotherhood, which should be, in fact, a rival, a Sunni rival of the Islamic Republic of Iran. However, when it comes to terrorism and fighting against the West, which includes in this context Israel, there is no differentiation when it comes to the Islamic Republic of Iran. At the end of the day, the Muslim Brotherhood and Sunni terrorist organizations are no different than Shia-funded terrorist organizations, whether or not ideologically they identify as Sunni or Shia.
Yeah, thank you for clarifying that. I just want to ask you something. Is Israel on high alert right now? What can you tell us? I mean, how is the daily life? I know we're hearing that, an attack is possibly imminent. What's it like there?
It has been very, very tense in the last week. The public bomb shelters were reopened again as some of the rocket fire trickled down as the IDF, was taking out Hamas terrorists in Gaza. Some of those were closed. They have been reopened. People are aware of the threat. They are giving it a lot of coverage in the media, locally and internationally. But I would say that on the street, no one's panicked. It's not really any different than usual. Unfortunately, Israelis are very used to living with the threat of terrorism and living with neighbors who seek to destroy us. And so we're not going to be deterred, and we're not going to live in fear, and we're going to continue living our lives the best that we can and standing strong against terrorism. And I don't expect any of that to change, regardless of what the terrorist Islamic Republic of Iran tries to do.
Emily Schrader, really appreciate you. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.